Okay, all right, guys. So, how do my knobs work on my amp, right? Or our amps, right? So, this is a great little easy thing for beginners you want to know, and it will really help. It can really help your sound not sound as amateurish, right? And these are a lot of pro things that the more intermediate advanced guys know that you want to know, right? So, what was I going to say here? This is an EVH lunchbox head. I'm using this little head because it's short and sweet and it's real easy to explain. Okay, so we'll go from left to right here and start. This is a 2-channel amp. These are just a couple pedals I have in the effects loop. This one just has a little bit of reverb, like, and delay on it, just for touch. Yeah, so you'll still be able to hear everything pretty good. Anyway, you should. I can. Actually, I'll even turn the one down even more. All right, so. All right, so we start from right here, right? The first one is gain, right? Now this is a dual centric knob amp, and what that means is that because it's 2-channel amp, instead of having 2 separate EQs like you'd see in like a big 100-watt head, like a long one, or a 50-watt head, this just has 1 EQ for both channels and 1 volume and gain for both channels. But the volume and gain, so you can get different volumes with your clean and your distortion channel, they have 2 knobs. So there's actually 2 knobs here. There's a black one on the outside and then a white one on the inside. The white one on the inside is channel 1, the outside is channel 2. So, here's a clean. I got all the knobs straight up and down, and we'll start from here. So gain is what's going to give you that kind of like distorted like effect. So even this is the clean channel, I can start really pushing this gain in this amp and get kind of like a nice little dirty sound. Right, so that's what the gain will do. If I turn it all the way down, sometimes you can turn gain down because it also affects volume. You might have to turn your volume up, right? So if you want to get more of those glassy like kind of cleans, do more volume, less gain. You could crank the volume here. Right, so that's pretty much gain and volume on the first channel, right? And this is all in the 7-watt motor. I don't have it super cranked, but so then we'll move on to the first thing, right? Bass or low. On this, it's called low, mid, high, or it'll say bass, middle, treble. That's the same thing, okay? But we'll start with like low or bass, right? So if you have so here I'll put some distortion on because this might make it easier to hear, right? So. Here I got some, here's a riff. Right, nice and chunky. So, now let's see what happens when I start cranking the lows. Now hear it. Hear how much bigger that sounds and fatter. Which is great, it makes for a cool sounding guitar thing. But like with some of these other things, you'll see it doesn't sound greatest in a mix. So usually, you want to do this stuff to taste. But your sound can be whatever you want your sound to be. So I usually, if I'm using the low end, I usually have it about up and down or a little bit more, but never usually, depends on the guitar I'm playing. But you got to do it to taste, Play it with the knobs. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared like I was. I think they all need to be cool looking up and down or this looking all forward. Just put them at what makes the amp sound best, not what makes it look the coolest. That's an important thing. I notice that a lot of beginner students I have want that. But so that's what bass does. It'll make it fatter, the lower end frequencies of the guitar fatter. So here's normal, here's fat. Now let's put it all the way down. Now you don't really hear any any what was I gonna say? You don't hear any low end. You just hear mid and high frequencies a lot more, right? Hold on one second. So yeah, you hear those ones a lot more. So and now you see as I bring it back in. Back to my taste. Right, now we got a good, tone there, right? So now mids, that's the next one. This is one of the most important frequencies for guitar. So, and you can either what they call scoop the mids, which is taking them out or lowering them, or you can push the mids, which I tend to have mine medium or a little bit more. Sometimes I'm playing maybe like Metallica, I'll have it a little less. But so here's what mids sound like. Say if everything else is pretty much, even up and down. Say so here's mids in the middle. Right, and now we'll start adding some more. And now we can even take some of the highs and lows out, and now you hear just mid-range. So you hear that characteristic of it is kind of blocky. Or what's another term? Honky is another term they can use for it. But yeah, that's the kind of sound of it. But it's a lot of the meat of your guitar tone. But now, say if you were to say go the other way, instead of boosting all the mids, you cut the mids all the way, right? Now now I'll take that right out, and you'll hear a lot of just lows and highs, right? Right, a nice, almost evil, like chainsaw rip your head off. Kind of a sound, right? But that's great. But one thing I will keep in mind that if you have another guitar player in your band, or sometimes even without that, with just a 4 or 3 piece, it can be hard to hear your guitar in the mix because you don't have any of those mid-range frequencies that really can make people hear you stand out in the mix with the drums and bass and everything going on. So that's the one thing to keep in mind, that even if you're going to scoop mids, don't go too crazy, because what your guitar sounds like by yourself, I can make a super sick sounding guitar sound by myself, but that isn't the same tone I would use if I was playing with a band, right? So that's what mids basically do, and I encourage you to play with this on your own, on your amps too. Next, last one here is highs. It's a basic 3-band EQ, right? So highs, just like it says, it's the higher frequencies or the treble frequencies. So here to be straight up and down. Back down. Now it's almost just mid and highs, or mid and lows you can hear. Right, now that sounds like a lot better, I think. So, and then the last two we have on here is or what we call is a global EQ kind of thing. By that I mean over the whole amp. Okay, so instead of this EQ being like the way it is, the presence does like, that's over here. The knob broke off, but pretend there's a knob here, and that's presence. Some amps might have them named differently, but presence is the right really term. So that's all highs. Presence is all highs, but it's highs all together, like highs throughout every frequency range. Same with resonance in the back. Resonance is like a global thing, same exact thing, but for lows, okay? So I'll show you what like presence sounds like. So say if we got a good tone like this. Now, I have a good amount of presence big of effect as some of the other ones, but definitely does have an important effect. Just hear that. It's kind of weird. So you usually don't want, you usually want it more in the middle or a little boosted or a little cut, depending what your flavor of guitar you want to have be putting out there, right? So, and that can change a little. You can mess with it. You don't got to figure it out one day and, oh, that's my sound. So keep that in mind. And then resonance is, like I said, the same thing for global. That's back here, this knob. I have it straight up and down now. So if you can hear that, and I'll try to increase it. See, it makes it gives it more oomph, but it's not directly like just bass. It's doing a little bit different more than that. But yeah, that's resonance all the way boosted, and then it'll take it all the way out. Almost start to sound more blocky, mid-rangey, right? Well, that's because anytime you start cutting frequencies, so say if I cut out lows and highs, mids you're going to hear more. If I cut out mids and leave the highs and lows, you're going to hear the highs and lows more, right? So you want it, and you can look up if you have an amp that like a famous guitar player has, you can usually look up their exact settings and see what they were using, and try that out. A lot of times what works for other people don't work for you, but or for myself, I've noticed. But give it a shot, stay motivated, and please like and subscribe. I'm gonna try to get more better content out there as this gets going along. So yeah, like and subscribe, and thanks guys for listening.